What's up, Star Wars card collector, graders, and fans? This is very exciting. I just got an HGA order back. I sent these all in just for fun. I have to be honest though, I was hesitant to send some of these in initially because I knew they weren't in like the best of best shape, but I just really wanted to send stuff out, and I forgot that I had put aside like a good 50 cards for grading, so I went through some other cards I had. Anyways, long story short, I submitted a whole bunch of good cards to get graded. They came back in, goodness, 2.5 weeks or so for a 60-day turnaround. I sent in a bunch of horizontal stuff, but everything in here is custom. So this was really a fun order. I'm excited to have these in my PC. I know graded cards are abundant and all that stuff, and that's fine, but I just really loved getting through the order, and that last order with some of those Hoth Japanese things, just, you know, I could not resist. I did join their platinum level program, but here's the thing. I am in the process of moving. I have to kind of limit what I'm doing for a little while because I don't want anything to come back to my old address by the time I move. So it's safer to just wait until a little bit later and then send stuff in so I don't have to worry about, you know, moving or getting cards to the wrong address. Now there are some Stranger Things cards in here. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go through this really quickly, and I'm gonna unwrap all these, and we're just gonna reveal them all at once, so that way we don't have to deal with all this. And go. Okay, that was fun. So now that we got all this unwrapped, we are ready for the reveal. Let's see, do we start vertical or horizontal? All right, so there were 2 Stranger Things cards in here. The rest were all Star Wars CCG. Let's get right into it. These are all custom. Attack Run. Interesting. So they used the purple. I don't know if you can see that really well, but the outside purple is what they ended up using. It's an 8.5. So corners 8, edges 8.5, surface 8.5, centering 9. Okay, very interesting. I was wondering if they were going to use something maybe with the protons, but there's not really much to work with. Interesting. Okay, let's look at the next one. Brainiac. Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping they would do something with like the pie, or looks like they just kind of used the generic Rebel background. I guess there's not much to use, but it would have been cool to use something with like the brain. I wonder, this has got an 8, so corners 7, edges 7, surface 9, centering 9.5. Really curious how they gave the corners a 7. I mean, these corners are in great shape, pretty good shape. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy to me. Okay, so not super thrilling on that one. I was actually kind of hoping that would be a little bit different. Rendezvous Point. Okay, so this is kind of cool. It's an 8.5, corners 7.5, edges 8, surface 9, centering 9. They did this like planet with the rings thing around it and like another planet there. Really kind of cool. It's just a pretty looking card. But yeah, it's probably hard to see in the light, but up close it looks really cool. Alright, let's look at the next one. Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay. 8.0, corner 7, edges 8, surface 9, centering 9.5. So I'm again with the corners 7. I mean, not perfect, but I guess it is what it is. Still a cool card though. Alright, let's move on to the next one. Lot Dodd. Okay, so they took a different approach with this. I don't know if you remember the Chancellor one I revealed, but this kind of went with some cool color lines like in the background. The other one kind of used the background from the Senate. So this is like a totally different approach. Color scheme wise, it matches though, but it's not what I expected. It's got this kind of like retro look to it. Very interesting. Okay, moving on. Red Leader in Red 1. So again, they're using the background of the blue here. 8.0, corners 7, edges 7.5, surface 9, centering 10. So yeah, again, corners. Really don't like the corners. That's definitely an HGA thing. I mean, I wouldn't say they're perfect, but I would never guess like a 7. I think they're better than that, but oh well. These are just fun cards. And Dengar, looks like they did something similar with a lot dot there with their retro look. Overall, nothing too crazy. I was kind of hoping they would do some different artwork with them. I do expect like the things that take up the whole screen might be a little more difficult to work with, but nothing too crazy there. All right, let's hope these horizontal ones are a little more exciting. All right, let's look at this one. Death Star Trench. Oh, interesting. So since I submitted a Death Star Trench before, this one looks different. It's an 8.5, corners 8, edges 7.5, surface 9, centering 9.5. But it's got kind of like a higher up viewpoint, vantage point of the Death Star Trench. So this card alone tells me that every time a custom slab is sent in, it's going to be different. So if we want something to be similar, then we're going to want to call out the card that we want it to be similar to if there was one like submitted prior. So that'll be interesting. It's really cool though. Okay, this is a Stranger Things 2 card. It's numbered 1 out of 11, so only 11 of these cards printed. Piecing it together. And it's a waffle. I called for the artist to include a waffle in the design, so it's a 9.5. Corners 9.5, edges 9.5, centering 9.5, surface 9. So close to a true 9.5. I figured this card would grade well. Then again, the corners are really sharp on it, so this is very cool. Very excited about that. Dagobah Yoda's Hut. Okay, now we got some design stuff going here. This looks like Dagobah up here, really cool. And then this is kind of highlighting like some of the lighting back here. It's an 8.0, corners 8.5, edges 7, surface 8.5, centering 9.5. So this time they kind of got it with the edges, but yeah, I mean, they're not perfect. But again, we knew from submitting these that these weren't going to quite grade as high, but these are more for like funsies, more of like a experiment on what they would do. Hoth Wampa Cave. Well, that's cool. It looks like the inside of the cave up top here. It's an 8.5, and I really like what it looks like in the 8.5. That's cool. You get this kind of like down the tunnel look. It's really hard to look, but I will post these pictures, from a portrait style on my Instagram, so you can see those as well and zoom into them as you like. So it won't just be on here. So that's cool. 8.5. So 8, 8.5, surface 8, centering 10. So really the corners and surface. But again, I knew it wasn't going to grade quite as awesome as the other ones. All right, let's take a look at this one. Yavin 4 Masasi Throne Room. Interesting. This almost looks like inside like a tunnel or ship or something. Super dark artwork in the back, but I figured this would be just kind of like a cool card to have slabbed because, I mean, it's the Masasi Throne Room, so that's all good. Let's see. Corners 8, edges 8, surface 9, centering 10. So corners and edges. Yeah, I figured this one wouldn't do as well with like the edges and stuff, but to be honest, it's still, yeah, the edges are definitely lower, but I was curious to know what they were going to do with that. All right, we got another Stranger Things card, and they did the waffle in it. No longer gauge, so this is what I was asking them to do. I put in waffle. Make sure it's a waffle. So very cool. Corners 9, edges 9.5, surface 10, centering 9.5. Very cool. Surface 10. Well, how about them apples? It's not every day you get a perfect 10 on surface. All right. And the last one, Executor Hollow Theater. Ooh, that's really cool. That's an 8.0, so corners 8, edges 7.5, surface 8, centering 9.5. So tricky to see with the lighting, but they did highlight the like blue up lighting around the side. I figured that could look really cool in a slab. So let's take a quick recap here. These essentially kind of look the same. So which of these horizontals is your favorite? I'd love to hear from what your thoughts are. I think I really like, I'm trying to think. Death Star Trench is really cool. The Hawkwampa Cave is kind of different. You know? And I'm glad they did a cool design in Yoda's hut. Sausage Throne Room doesn't quite make as much sense to me, but it's still cool backgrounds. Alright, and I'm glad they did the waffle for these. I might list these. So I have these for my set already. These were extra ones I had, so I figured I'd grade these since they're so rare. Figured it'd be a good. And then let's look at these vertical ones. My favorite has to be Rendezvous Point, because they didn't really do much with Brainiac and Obi-Wan. I was kind of hoping with Brainiac they'd do something with the math there, but they didn't really fiddle with that. Lotad, I think for next time I might call out, like if I do another Senate chamber, to be like, use the Senate chamber as the artwork, like that Chancellor Valorum card I did before. I really liked that design. I didn't know if they were going to do something similar. But yeah. So these are some just kind of funsy extras I had to submit. I may or may not post them online, but if I do, it probably won't be for a little while, because I've got to admire them first, you know. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. So I'm really glad we got to submit these. I think it's easier with some of the lighter cards. You know, like some of these have really dark backgrounds, so it's probably hard to work with in terms of like the designs and stuff. Or if the picture really has nothing to go off of, it's hard to figure out like what to do with it. Like they're not going to just redraw his face up there, you know. But for like a holo theater, like that's easier to just pull out the lights. You know, and then waffles, clearly it's a waffle all the way around, so much easier to call out. Anyways, thanks for checking these out with me. Tell me what your favorite was, if you like them or hate them. I'm not surprised on the grades themselves, but again, these were just kind of funsies, plus foils are kind of a pain to look at really closely, so I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Thanks for checking this out. If you like this video, you can check out some more videos over here and over here.